Welcome again to New Game Plus. We are a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game, and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
And I'm Nolan.
And this is episode 31. We are so glad that you're able to join us. Nolan, Kenny, what was your favorite class in high school?
Is it cheating if you say like PE or something?
No, back when you were in high school, you weren't allowed to give that as your answer, but
Right.
Now that you're grown, you may.
Okay. Then in that case,
Math?
really though, I had this awesome teacher who taught math, and I took him like 4 times, and he was just a really great teacher. I had him for homeroom, and we had fun in there, so mine was math.
Yeah, just because of a really good teacher.
Because a really good teacher, and I was okay at math. I was fairly decent at that.
Kenny, favorite?
I'm so bad at favorite questions. I don't know if I guess it counts as a class per se. I was a band kid and loved the music thing, so.
What did you play? Saxophone?
Saxophone. Yeah.
Piccolo.
I wish I'd played piccolo.
Kenny, you need to whip out the saxophone. Play it some more.
Whip it out and play it.
Whip it out, sir.
My favorite class in high school was nurse's aid.
Oh, God. What?
He's not kidding.
So once a week, I'd input like sensitive data into her system, like students' like sensitive data, and then every other day, I'd go into the back room and lay down on one of her sick beds and take a nap.
Dude.
Yeah,
That's
this was
awesome.
my senior year
What?
too. So
And you
like,
got
how
credit
perfect
for
is
it?
that? Yeah, and
Dude,
if I
that's
had
awesome.
homework, I just had like an hour and a half to do it in her quote unquote class. So it was amazing. But in there, I had some pretty intense moments when people would come in sick
dying.
or other things. Yeah. So which leads me to the next question: is what is your least favorite class?
Are you also going to answer nurse's aid?
No, but I'll go ahead because I hated physics. I think it's what it was. It might have been biology. It's probably physics.
So hard.
Well, not only was it so hard, I had a terrible teacher, and she didn't make us do much, and she wasn't a coach. She was an actual teacher. But it was like the kind of teacher that like would just yell all the time. There's something wrong with her, I think. At the end of the year, we had a project to do as our end of the year project, and we had to make a catapult that launches a rock a certain distance. And so we were paired up, or we got to pair ourselves up with friends, and then make that. Well, my friend and I didn't want to do that. We thought it would be too much work and that would be too hard. And so we convinced our teacher to let us make a hoverboard instead. Anyways, I didn't enjoy the teacher. And it was her last year to teach because a kid got caught on fire in her class who ran down to the nurse's lab while I was there with his skin falling off.
Oh my gosh. Look, bad teachers will make any class like the worst. My least favorite on that note was also physics. I had a good teacher, but it was just so boring to me. Like, I could not get behind physics. I didn't like it at all. And It wasn't the teacher. It was just me being the worst and not liking the class, like not liking the subject.
Sure, that's fair. Kenny?
It's crazy. I almost want to agree with you guys because I had a really terrible physics teacher. In this case, yes, coach. And he had no idea what he was doing and like let his class do whatever, but that meant we spent more time playing like games on our TI-83 or like
He was a
hanging
hero.
Christmas lights on our desk or like playing cards. We would just play cards in class like he didn't care. It was ridiculous. And so I actually had a lot of fun in that class, but I didn't learn anything, which is too bad because it's a kind of interesting subject actually. My least favorite though was an English teacher who was just crazy. She's one of those who taught English forever and would like had weird phrases like she'd threaten to beat you with a wet noodle, and she had a little bit of a mustache.
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I wasn't
Did
sure.
you ever found out?
I wasn't sure if I should be afraid for my life or if I should like file a lawsuit or
Right.
like what reaction to even have. It was pretty rough.
Well, whether physics or math or knights or healers or archers. Everybody's got a class that they enjoy and a class that they hate. Thankfully, there are many classes to choose from in our retro game of the week, Shining Force: The Legacy of Great Intention.
Oh,
Kenny's impressed with that one.
that one was. I was waiting.
You didn't see it coming.
I didn't. That was maybe the most painful one yet.
Yeah, right. Amazing.
Oh.
Overview.
Shining Force is a tactical RPG for the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, whatever. It came out in 1992, and it was developed by Climax Entertainment and Sonic Software Planning. Never heard of that latter, but a Sega team, a Genesis team, I guess, was working on this game first. Last week I said I played it on the PC, so there was quite a few ports that this game has, one of them being PC, and then a bunch of re-releases as well. The game's been re-released on the Game Boy Advance and a handful of other consoles. So anyways, the game is a fantasy game, and you have your main protagonist, whose name is left up to the player, but I went with his default name, Max. Would you guys name your character?
That's his default name?
Yeah, it's
That's
Max.
a terrible
Very
default
fantasy.
name.
Yeah. What'd you name him?
I used the name Kenny as my lead character
That's
in
very
homage
appropriate.
to my greatest friend and pal,
Hey,
Nolan.
that's my nickname sometimes. All right, Kenny, what did you name Max? Let's hear it.
But no.
Okay. So what was it? What was that terrible name, Dustin, that he had for
I used
Dragon
to.
Warrior?
It had like numbers or something, or like
420
really
YOLO
bad.
swaggin'.
no, that wasn't
Okay,
it.
Kenny didn't play the game this week. So anyways, you have your protagonist named Max or Kenny or nothing, and you follow him and his friends, I guess you could call them, through the land of Guardiana. And this kingdom has a history where they have sealed away a dark dragon. And this dark dragon was very evil, but they were able to seal him away behind this gate. And of course, you've got some people who want to bring him back. And so you have to team up and defeat Cain and several other enemies that are just evil and want to see this dark dragon resurrected. You are told that you need to leave the kingdom, and it's up to you to build a team and to go fight off these forces, and this team is called the Shining Force. And so you've got, like, characters that have portraits, and a portrait usually means they're going to be a very important character, like someone who's going to join your team, or like a king, or someone integral to the story. So you're looking for someone who's got a portrait, and because you don't have a ton of guidance on where to find these characters. So you build your team, and there's quite a few characters, and I'll talk about some similarities to like Fire Emblem and other stuff when we get into gameplay. But you have to build your team, and then I said it's tactical RPG, and so what I mean is you battle your way through like instances, and it's tile based, and you just need to get to your objective or to defeat these enemies and claim your objective, progress, level up, typical RPG stuff, and make sure that evil does not prevail.
Here's something I found interesting. If you've played other tactical turn-based RPGs before, you'll find a lot of similarities, and you already mentioned Fire Emblem, but also like early Final Fantasy, I feel like there's some of that, especially Final Fantasy Tactics, you know, and
For
obviously
sure.
there's comparisons that can be made, but it's interesting because Shining Force came out only 2 years after the first Fire Emblem release, and it completely preceded Final Fantasy Tactics. So
Interesting.
yeah, so like this game wasn't just a copy, and it wasn't. And it's very interesting because if you play some of these games, like you'll see a lot of comparisons. But even the producer said, when other people tried to make a comparison, saying, "Hey, so I guess Fire Emblem really inspired this," they're quick to say, "No, it wasn't that." More so, it was inspired by Dragon Quest, which is a game we've actually played in our retro master list.
I thought that was crazy too, and wanted to see what Kenny thought about that because he loved Dragon Quest, or he's gonna call it Dragon Warrior.
Of course I am.
But it blew me away because it's so come on, it's totally Fire Emblem. I mean, we'll get into that, but I thought that was really interesting that even the producer mentioned that, but I didn't know or pay attention that it came out before Tactics, which now that I think about it, but that's impressive and interesting to talk about because it definitely does have those similarities, just visually and gameplay wise. And it's kind of crazy that it's not more. I don't know. Did you guys know about this game? Have you heard about it before we played it?
No, I wasn't aware of it.
I had never heard of it before in my entire life.
You'd think it would be more notable, but I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that good. Let's see.
Gameplay.
So let's explain the gameplay mechanics.
All right. I said it's tile based, so you can free roam the world map, kind of. Not all the time because it's not linear, but it kind of follows chapters. The game does. But when you get into a battle, it's tile based, where you can select your character and then move them a certain number of spaces. Very similar to Fire Emblem. Just think Fire Emblem if you know that. However, instead of being able to move your whole team and then the enemy team moves their whole team and then it's your turn again, you kind of alternate based on your character's agility. So if you've got someone with really low speed, they're moving last. And that adds this difficulty to the game that I wasn't used to playing Fire Emblem. It really threw me off. And you've got to be careful where you place your characters. But when you move your character, you can engage in combat with an enemy. If you're melee, you need to be up close. Or if you're Hans and you have an archer, you can shoot them from a ranged space and kill all the enemies on the map or do whatever. Sometimes the objective is just to get to the city that you need to get to, and you can skip enemies. But that's the basis of the gameplay, just tile-based movement and then one-on-one combat.
Which tile-based means that you can move a certain distance, and then once you get to wherever you're going to land, you can perform one action. So you can either attack, or you can cast magic, you can use an item, and then at the end of each battle, like most RPGs, each of your characters gain experience, and they level up, and then at a certain level, you can promote your character, and so their class evolves from... what's one example of a class promotion?
Okay, so Gong goes from being a monk who can fight melee with his fists and also heal to he just basically will be able to, in some cases, use new items, like a different weapon, or gains a new ability, instead of heal, he could do something else. But you lose your stats. When you promote, you have to build your stats back up. And so there's permanent stat boosters in the game that it's better to use after you promote your characters at level 10, because if you use them before, you're going to lose those stats. But basically, the class change is just you getting stronger and gaining access to new skills in some cases.
Yeah, so Gong can go from a monk to a master monk, and Hans, who is your first archer, can go from an archer to be promoted to be a bowmaster. A bowmaster.
I was going to say, are they
close.
all master something?
One thing that I was not expecting in this game, and I've not seen in any other turn-based strategy RPGs, which you've played a lot more of, Nolan, but this is early, were the battle cutscenes.
Yeah, those were kind of cool, but then kind of reminiscent of Godzilla, and so I was torn, but I liked them overall.
Oh, please.
No, I know what you're saying in that there's not significant movement. I mean, it's just a few frames that comprise that animation, but still, to see that kind of graphic from a 92 game, it was impressive. But once again, that might have been the Genesis power.
Partly.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if like a Nintendo or Super Nintendo, you just don't see those things early on, and it was cool to have that kind of. Now it did become redundant, especially when I was healing, and it had that super long animation where Lo would
The
like
little fairy
call on a fairy, but it still was really impressive to see that.
Hey, at least there weren't summons.
It's like take 5 minutes.
Can you imagine this game's version
Knights
of
of the
like
Round?
Knights of the Round? Yeah.
Yeah.
As if it wasn't already slow enough.
I like those coming from Fire Emblem, but there definitely needed to be an option to turn them off, because in Fire Emblem you can turn it off, and then when you engage in combat, it'll just pull up both HP bars instead of like cut to a whole thing. But the option's not there that I know of.
Right, I didn't see it either. Oh, okay, so let's talk about this before we moved on to talk about how it's aged. Kenny, and I want to know where you like, because I think I understand where Nolan is when it comes to this genre, but for me, controlling so many characters is overwhelming, and especially with my personality, I feel the need to have all of my characters level up together, not at the exact time, but within the same area of time, and so they all need equal involvement in the battle. And so I do stupid things, like at times I have my healer run in and get a hit on an enemy just so he can get some experience. He just does like 1 damage worth of HP, but at least he's getting some more experience rather than just trying to heal people that don't even need it. And so that feels overwhelming to me, because you've got a party of, what is it, 12? Is 12 people in your party at one time?
Sounds right. You get up to 30 characters
right
roundabout by the end of the game, but at one battle, I think 12, 13 maybe.
See, that's overwhelming to me. I don't think it is to you, Nolan, but what about you, Kenny?
I liked that, the diversity of characters and having different people with different abilities, like the tactics part of it was fun to me. I'm with you. I'm kind of an RPG-ish guy enough that I tended to find characters I liked more and less and would use them more or less, even if it wasn't necessarily efficient. And so that part of the isn't necessarily the ideal way to like play a tactics game, but I enjoyed the format as an idea. To me, the biggest frustration with the tactics piece was the pace. It was just really slow, because you would watch each individual enemy move, and then like you would move, and then another individual enemy would move. And so I felt like I was just watching the screen do things a lot of the time.
Yeah, and on top of that, like there were certain so a lot of the enemies don't move until you get within a certain distance of them, but it would still go to their turn, and so the little active box would move all the way across the map to them, and then they do absolutely nothing, and then to their friend would do absolutely nothing, and before finally making it all the way back to you. That just adds a lot of time.
Right, there's some optimization missing. Just small things like that would have added so much quality to just how the battle system works and the speed of the game. But I can totally see that. Like it even bothered me, and I'm used to that. But real quick, the thing I like about having so many characters to choose from is the ability to choose my team and then have so many different playthroughs that can be so different, because leveling up is also randomized. So your attack may be really awesome on max, like on one of your playthroughs, and then you probably could play through again, and his speed is really high, and so you use him in a different way. And so that's what I love about Fire Emblem.
That's actually
and
cool.
This game I wouldn't probably have that same enjoyment, just because it's a little slower and it's not as optimized. But that's why I like that style of gameplay. It's just how much variety you can have.
Aged.
So when it comes to the age of this game, has has some of the mechanics and the sound and the visuals and just the gameplay overall, have you felt that Shining Force has aged significantly or not much at all?
Dustin, I'm curious to what you think just about that, because I kind of could have guessed Kenny's, and I think I might know how you think, but what do you think about it?
Well, when it comes to the age, I did feel that it has aged. I think that the AI seems weak. You can learn what triggers them and how they interact early on within just the first few battles, and then I feel like you can take advantage of that system for the rest of the game. And so the majority of the game was not difficult for me, and maybe I could have brought up the difficulty level or something, but once I learned the distance, and I was able to just pull one enemy away from the rest, take him out, move up a block, take out the next enemy, etc. And so that kind of was I felt the age there. And then the music got repetitive, which is hard to overcome when you're playing a game that a single battle can take multiple days to finish, or it feels like multiple days to finish. So I did feel like I did feel the age in playing this game.
Kenny?
Yeah, I definitely felt the age, mostly again with pacing stuff, but some of the places that I was actually most frustrated was the user interface. The fact that each character literally has 4 slots of things that they can be held, and that your main character does all the interacting with the world, and that if you want to take something from your main character and put it on another character, you have to actually go through this process of, I want to do an action. I want to do an action involving an item. I want to do an action involving an item, which is giving that item to someone else. I want to give that item from this person. I want to give that item to this person. It was like a really, really inefficient character interaction. And so I was always getting frustrated with having too many items on my main character and having to move things around and shuffle them. I didn't know whether to hold on to things or out of frustration just sell everything I had except the main weapon I had equipped. It was stuff like that just inefficiencies in the interaction with the game. What in the fights as well, but even in just the user interface, that made it feel like I was putting in a lot more time than I was getting entertainment value back.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Nolan?
So there was the nostalgia factor here for me pretty heavy, and I don't remember when I played this game or how I got my hands on it until reading about the game, getting ready for the podcast. So at Sam's Club one day, they had a PC game section for some reason, and I got this thing called the Sega Smash Pack 2. And it's a bundle that had all these Sega games in it for PC, and it had Shining Force on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is where I've played the game. It also had Sonic 2 and Vector Man and Comic Zone and all these other games. So once that clicked for me, I was like, I really got taken back to when I was playing the game. So the nostalgia factor was heavy for me, but I won't let that influence me too much. I definitely agree with you guys. I felt the age of it. There was a whole layer of optimizing the menus and the battle movement and the speed of the game that was missing. And now that I've played so many new Fire Emblems and over the years, yeah, I felt it hard. And I feel like back then it would have been felt too. It wasn't ideal, and at times it made the game hard to enjoy. However, I do think that it's unique enough where they've combined the RPG style of Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest with Fire Emblem. Whether the guy thinks so or not, it's totally there. And I think it's a really weird kind of genre that they took on the game. And it's not like any game I've played, really. It's a merging of 2 different games that I feel have come together, and I liked it. I love the game. I love the style of it. I think the Genesis graphics are amazing still.
They're always fun. They really are.
Yeah, I just get so much enjoyment out of the detail and the colors, and the music even. The music on the Genesis was so good, really good quality, not just good music, but the quality of sound was good. So I think I felt the age, but I still love the game.
Did they make any sequels? Do we know?
Oh yeah. In fact, the sequels are pretty good from what I understand. I've only played the first game, but they came out in Japan, and Shining Force 3 is supposed to be very good, but it's kind of hard to play because of the translation thing. Like, even the translation in Shining Force 1 is kind of weak at times. Like, they just left out some parts, but yeah, the sequels are supposed to be a really good series.
And not only did they make sequels, but the game itself was remade in 2004 for the Game Boy Advance with a slightly different title, updated plot, added characters and battles, and an increased difficulty level. So, and then also being able to make this game accessible on Wii and Steam and iOS, and they've done what I think is necessary for a game that just originally came out on the Genesis to be able to keep it alive so that other people can play. That if you're a viewer and wanted to play this game with us this week, you had every opportunity to.
Yeah, for sure.
It is neat that there are games being made by the Genesis folks, whoever has those rights now, to be played on Steam.
Shout out to our main sponsor, Genesis. Thank you for your support. Love you guys.
That'd be awesome.
The final shell shock.
So, it is time for New Game Plus status. Once again, we have adapted how we handle this. Kenny, do you care to explain?
Yes. We will now sort of aggregate our New Game Pluses or not so New Game Plus statuses and list those on our Retro Master list, which means if at least 2 of the 3 of us think the game is worth a replay and give it our big plus sign, it will be marked on there for you to check out. If either all of us or 2 of us think it's a waste of your time, then you will see that noted as well, and can probably avoid that game unless you're just like a video game masochist.
So there's a lot more weight in these answers that we're going to give you. It's not going to be off just the top of our head, or it's going to be deeply considered and pondered so that we have a heartfelt answer of whether or not we believe this game should be New Game Plus certified. And I think it'd be best this episode to begin with Nolan.
Sure. After playing it now and comparing it to when I last played it and taking it all in and hearing what you guys have to say about it, I am going to say yes, I give this game my New Game Plus seal of approval because I would go back and play it. I think it's worth playing because it's a unique experience where you've got these 2 genres that have come together, and I think it's worth enjoying even if it's going to be difficult for you. You don't have to beat it. I just think it's worth playing. And I think it's really fun. And I love Sega and the Genesis. And I give it my New Game Plus.
Boom. Kenny, would you give this game your New Game Plus status?
If Nolan is known for loving his Sega games, I'm known for loving sequels. And I feel like in this case, if we had played a sequel where they were able to go in and fix the pacing and fix the user interface and have the same type of game, which was very fun, the same sorts of characters and environments, but flesh them out, the same look, the same console, but just make it less of a chore by, improving AI, by making the battles not take 17 years, by letting you navigate around and manage what was going on more efficiently. In that case, I absolutely would, but those things were such a big hurdle for me that I can't say it on this one. I've gotta say no New Game Plus from me.
So, viewers, just so you are well aware of what's happening right now, we have 1 yes, affirmative from Nolan, and then we have 1 negative from Kenny. And so it has come down to what I have to say about this game.
Too much power.
Yeah, this got way too intense.
Don't abuse it.
It's not about me. We all have 1/3 power.
Listen, the popularity of this game for everybody from now on is going to be affected by your choice.
Right. That's way too intense.
I
Turn
never
off
wanted
the
to be the
podcast now.
tiebreaker.
You will at some point, I'm sure.
Okay.
There are many good things about this game we've mentioned.
Oh.
There's no need to recap them. There are many difficult things to overcome when it comes to this game, and we've addressed those as well. So this is not a time for me to go over them again. This is just a time for me to let you know if I give this my New Game Plus status, yes or no. And
Okay.
I would say because it is one of the earliest entries in its particular genre, even with some significant mistakes and the very noticeable agedness of the game, I think in light of all of that, that it still is a classic that needs to be experienced at least once. So yes, I would give it my New Game Plus status.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy.
It's fair. I was
nervous.
glad we played it. I didn't not give it New Game Plus in the way I have with other games where it's like, please avoid, run away.
No, it wasn't a straight up sucks.
Yeah, but
I can see
But it
your
also
complaints.
it also wasn't a home run out of the park, and so that's where I'm not saying that everybody's going to love it, but I do think it is a game that people should play once. Like Kenny just said, he's glad that we played it, and I think you would be too if you haven't. But I don't think that most people are just not going to fall in love with this game, although those that love this type of genre might, because there's so much, I feel like, history, and you can feel it in this game.
Right.
Guys, is that 3 New Game Plus certified games in a row?
Oh, let's think.
That's insane.
So Super
that's the
Mario was
case.
last week, so that was
Well, Super Mario 64. No, not even Super. Just
Oh,
Mario
yeah.
Kart 64.
Mario Kart, sorry.
Mario Kart 64.
All
I was
sorts
like,
of-
did you play a different game?
The Lion
Week
King was before that.
Lion King, yeah, that's 3.
And then Home Alone 2 was before that. I'm not sure if that got it.
You're not
doubt
sure?
So that's 3 in a row. That's rare, but it's refreshing because we came out of a season of terrible game after terrible game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's got to balance out, and we're probably about to go back into one of those seasons.
Most
just get
likely. So our day ones are back. Both Antonin and Bill emailed us this week.
Oh, yeah.
At ngppodcast@gmail.com. Antonin emailed us and said, hey guys, I feel like I haven't emailed in weeks, because I haven't had much time or energy to play the games you guys were playing. I did download them. I did intend to play, but alas, didn't. However, I made a commitment to make time for Shining Force. After looking at how long to beat on the game, I definitely won't be finishing, but I'm excited to try it out. So for gameplay, I have heard of Shining Force before and had no idea it was a tactical RPG. I'm not a big fan of tactical RPGs, but I'm glad that it wasn't one of the typical Final Fantasy-esque games. That little twist definitely made me want to play the game more. The attack cutscenes were really cool as well and unexpected. How old is this game again? Despite the pre-rendered backgrounds and characters barely moving on the screen in battle, it made a huge difference in how I enjoyed the game itself. In regards to story, I mean, the story is just a standard JRPG. You're some guy, the kingdom falls into disarray, blah, blah, blah. Did I enjoy it? Kind of, until I turned off the game without saving by accident.
Oh, that hurt.
This meant that I would have had to fully start over, and there's no way that I was going to do that. The upside is that the Steam version of the game has save states, so next time I try, if I play the game again, I won't be faced with that stupidity again. Anyways, I hope you guys liked the game. I enjoyed it, but wouldn't say it felt like anything special.
It's good to hear from Antonin again. I was missing him.
Absolutely. He's always got good insight.
What'd Bill say?
He said, hey guys, Shining Force was an interesting game. It was unlike most games that I've played. I played the version on a Sega compilation on Xbox 360. That's awesome. So I hope it was the same that you guys played. Like a lot of your viewers, I spent the 16-bit era playing action-adventure games and RPGs, and one thing I learned from RPGs is that when a little girl living in a tiny house in the shadow of a castle tells you she dreamt of the whole city burning, you listen to that little girl.
I didn't know that.
So
You
true.
fortify your walls and prepare to fight the forces of evil. Anyways, the game was fun, although it was pretty slow at times. The combat system was foreign to me and it took a while to get a hang of, and I'm going to blame my death during the first encounter on the combat system, not on how bad I suck. Keep up the great shows. I look forward to it every week. Bill. P.S. Kenny is my spirit animal.
Oh gosh.
I don't even know what that means, but I'm going to take it as really high praise.
You shouldn't, Kenny. It was slow at times, Kenny. You pointed that out, and the combat system takes a while to get a hang of. It's straight up JRPG in the story and the dialogue, but there was something shining about this game.
Come on.
That felt a little forced.
So, yeah, for sure, but I feel like...
What, you're going to come on his and ignore mine?
What?
It felt forced.
We both missed it.
I didn't. I'm sorry, Kenny.
You're quicker than us.
I want to say, he's had that one in the pocket all week. That was off the cuff.
I didn't even hear it though, Kenny. So basically, what I'm saying is that JRPG, like, okay, here we go again. It's the the evil lord wants to do this and that, we have to stop him. That's just part of the grind. Like, if you like JRPGs, you kind of just like, okay, I didn't really notice it, is what I'm saying, because I've heard it so much. That's just part of the JRPG grind for me.
Absolutely.
True. Holden emailed us. He said, at first glance, I was incredibly excited to play this game because I've never heard the title before, and RPGs are my absolute favorite genre of game. When the game opened, I was incredibly excited because, like most RPGs, the story was great and captivating. But I was... That's really
the timing is really funny on that.
But I was soon disappointed. The story did not make up for the bore of a game this was. The battles were too long, the strategy almost non-existent, and the frustration of figuring out small details like how to get into Alteron Castle was endless. I almost made it through the first chapter and quit. This game aged too much for me. Fair. I mean, what you said is true.
Fair.
It's just... I guess it's how much you're going to allow those kinds of details to grind on you, and if you can push through, then this would be, a shining game.
Okay, and
just try.
In his defense, stop trying to do it. In his defense, they do build up the story like it's gonna be pretty sick. If you watch the opening thing where she's reading you from the book. Like the little fairy tale book, and it's like story. I could, they set it up pretty nicely, so I can see where he'd say that. I'm not bashing him, and I love you, Holden.
Yeah, yeah, you really do.
I really do.
Eric sent us a long message on Facebook. There's no way that I can read it all. He said that he just had to have a therapy session for a moment, and he said thanks for listening. I'll try to pick out some key phrases that he said. Before I begin, I have a confession to make to you three guys. In all the years I've played games, there was always one genre of game I shied away from: RPGs. I know I must be crazy and have probably missed out on some truly amazing titles over the years, so this week I've tried to do some reflecting on the reason why this was. The graphics looked nice. The story wasn't something that really captured my imagination, but I wasn't expecting it to. I wandered around for a time, talking to people who didn't have much to say, but got my crew and pretended to know what to buy at the local store, then set off onto an adventure only to realize that I felt like I was playing a game of chess. Trying to move my guys even into the area of battle was a chore. I really had no idea what I was doing. I was committed to beating some baddies, so I kept fighting. I persevered late into the evening until I finally realized why I never played these kinds of games. 2 reasons. Time and commitment. Time because as a kid I wanted a game that would instantly grab my limited attention span. Commitment because I wasn't willing to engross myself in all the details of how to play, what to buy, where to go, making maps, taking notes, and so on. And now that I'm a husband and father, these titles may never get the love and attention they fully deserve. Curious to hear what you guys think, and sorry this was so long.
It's fair in general, but if there was one RPG to pick to like solidify those issues in your mind,
it wasn't
this would be the one to do it if you never wanted to play another RPG, because of the reasons we talked about. Like, it was a slow one, it was a clunky one, the interface was tough, and so I would say don't let the entire genre die to you. There's some good ones, but just look for something faster paced with good save states.
That anime chess.
I wonder if, Eric, you'll trust us enough to, when we come up to an RPG that we think is worth playing and will take time and commitment but will be well worth it, that you would allow us to suggest that to you and that you take us
hopefully.
on our suggestion.
It doesn't help that it was a tactics game either. That's another hurdle. Most sort of typical RPGs don't have that. And it's not a bad thing, it's a flavor thing, but I think you would enjoy ones that weren't that version more.
Thanks for your long response to those. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously. When you guys message us, email us, write us, tweet us, all those things make our week and make this podcast experience a lot more fun and interactive, and it's truly a great thing. So hey, if you listen to us on a weekly basis, but you have yet to write in, you're kind of just a bystander. How about this week? Let's do something different and send us some commentary on a game. We got a lot of feedback a lot of game suggestions this week that we've added to our retro master list.
Yeah, I noticed it being way bigger.
So long. You can find the links on our social media, but it's just bit.ly slash retro master list, and you'll find that complete list there. And it's time to access that list and randomly select our next game. The game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days is Bible Adventures.
For what?
Adventures.
For what?
I believe
What
this
did it
is
come out
for
on?
NES. NES.
Okay, this is gonna be really funny, or I don't know.
It'll
Who
be
suggested that?
interesting.
I don't remember who suggested it, but I remember back in the day watching someone speedrun this game. It's
That's really funny.
It's pretty amazing. You go through the Old Testament as characters on a platforming. Please, everyone, play this game.
Let's just see what happens. Like, this may be the greatest thing ever.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for your support. You viewers are our heroes. And we had some Twitter feedback this week of viewers wanting us to set up some kind of system where we could play upcoming multiplayer games along with them. So like they talked about maybe like Steam groups, or they even talked about a 3DS multiplayer function. Like if we were able to play the updated Mario Kart with some of them. Would you guys be down for trying something like that?
Of
I'd
course,
love
that'd
something
be
like that.
awesome. That would be like next level for our podcast.
We'd
I
have
would
to almost
adore that.
specifically pick a game that worked into it, do a game not randomized 1 week, so we can set it up well to do it well, but I think that'd be a blast.
Well, let's talk about that off air, and maybe we can plan something like that. Maybe a cheap game on Steam that we could all do here in the coming month.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. And a Steam group might be a great idea because a lot of these games that we play are on Steam.
Yeah.
And that'd be easy to just be friends on Steam.
Definitely. We're looking forward to playing with you guys and you girls soon. Until then, I'm still Dustin.
I'm Bill's spirit animal.
And I'm Nolan.
And this has been New Game Plus.